Hello, everybody. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to Just Bleed Radio. Today is Sunday, March 31st, 2024, and this is the Weekend Roundup. What's going on, everybody? You sad individuals who sat through that card last night like we did. This is the Weekend Roundup from Just Bleed Radio. I believe this is, episode 5? Maybe episode 6? This is Lazybed, of course, here, one of your usual co-hosts. Joining me today, impromptu, we've got the man from across the pond. It's our homeboy, Dangermouse. Say hello, Danger.
Hey, guys. How you lazy?
So, anyways, this is a sort of last minute, spur of the moment sort of thing we're doing here. We don't really got a whole lot planned for this, so take of it what you may. We're gonna work our way up from the bottom of the card towards the top, being as there's not a whole lot of talking points, or maybe there's more than we imagine. But anyway, let's just jump right into this thing here. Starting out, we opened up the prelims with the bantamweight bout between Callan Logren, I believe that's how you say it, versus Angel Pacheco. Logren gets the decision W over Pacheco. Takeaways from this fight for me, this was a pretty standard affair for a bottom of the card fight. Looked like it could have taken a place in Cage Warriors or LFA or one of these B-League promotions. Logren's kind of, been sort of a highly touted figure coming in, but for me, sort of iffy on if he was ever going to really live up to the hype. Pacheco, a bit older, decent record, but nothing too stand out. Both these guys had fought some guys with some iffy past, to say the least. But anyway, win for Logren. I think after the fight, he called out Raul Rosas Jr., and he did say post-fight at the presser that he was embarrassed for calling out an 18-year-old. So, is what it is there.
I was only half listening to this when the results were read. 'Cause first night, and I was having a drink and chatting on the Discord and stuff. But I'm just looking at it now. I see there was a 30-26 round scored for Callan Logren.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure which round it was, but
rare 30-26.
Two judges 30-27 and one guy at 30-26.
Yeah.
I don't think it was that competitive, was it? From what I remember.
Checo had moments, but it was they were few and far between.
Well, that sums up the card, really.
Yeah.
Actually, that's probably unfair. There were lots of moments on the card, just not good ones, particularly.
Yeah. It was I guess you would say a very Atlantic City card. From what I heard, I've never been there. This is coming from Jersey people on the Discord, not from me.
Never been there, so unsurprisingly.
Yeah, so I guess that's about all on that one. Oh, before we go any further, I've already forgotten. I should have said this in the beginning. Happy Easter, everybody. It's Easter.
It is.
I hope you're all enjoying yourselves and you got your chocolate eggs or whatever the fuck it is you eat, and you're having a good time with your families.
Bunny rabbits and chocolate eggs to celebrate the death and rebirth of Christ.
Makes sense to me. Why not? Fuck it.
All right,
yeah, moving on here. One of the more interesting results of the night, middleweight bout between Australian Jacob Malkoon versus Andre Petrosky, who I believe they were claiming was a local, but according to somebody on the Discord, he's a Philadelphia guy. And is Philadelphia really local to Atlantic City? I don't know. But yeah, this one was peculiar to say the least. Yeah, of course, if you watched it, you know what happened. If you didn't, Petrosky seemed to have shot in for a takedown of some sorts and conked his head off of a part of Malkoon's body. Some people say the hip. I've seen a couple of people say maybe he hit it off of his cup. Not too sure. But nevertheless, Petrosky kind of stumbled off to the side in a weird way and then fell down. And Malkoun came in with a nice, vicious soccer kick to the body
Yeah,
there.
yeah. My favorite. I
Rem-
love seeing those.
Reminiscent of Khalil
Little
Roundtree Jr.
Roundtree.
there.
Yeah.
Yep, love that. But yeah, I don't know. Up until that point, it was a fairly competitive fight. Both guys got wobbled in the first, going at it, slinging heavy leather. Um, Petrosky, he's just one of those guys where like he's got the look and he's got the sort of the backing of fans. He's got at least a big, um, fan club in his local area. But the guy's really up and down, and it seems to be lacking in a lot of areas. Malkoun, who at times just seems sort of like a one-trick pony and just a grappler, wrestler. He's got heavy hands himself, and he connected with Petrosky a few times, and iffy weird finish, but yeah, it is what it is. A win for Malkoun.
So apart from the unusual finish, I can't say much about that. Like I said, I didn't think we were going to be talking much about the undercard today, so I didn't bother taking any notes last night.
Yeah.
I'm strictly playing off my memory, which isn't going to be great because I was also drinking all last night.
Yep.
Not quite as much cider as you, but I definitely got through a couple of pints.
Yeah. A good time was had by all, despite the fucking shitty
Yeah.
nonsense that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're just rifling through these anyway, just to get some shit on the record here. Next up, light heavyweight bout between Ebo Aslan and Anton the Pleasure Man Turkali. uh, Slobber knocker. I
Yeah,
mean,
it was a decent fight.
yeah. Do you want to go first on this one? Any small thoughts or tidbits you got here?
Not really. I was like I said, I wasn't paying that much attention to the fights last night. I wasn't overly struck with the card, so I did watch it, but I can't remember any specific moments. Obviously, it was a decent TKO punch, but I can't even remember the details of it, to be honest.
Yeah. All I really got on this one. This was a rematch. I do know that they had fought
Mhm.
earlier in their careers.
Yeah, I did hear
Um,
that.
yeah, Pleasure Man had apparently beat him, and I'm not sure the exact number, but I've heard a statistic before that something like the party who lost in the initial fight wins like 70% of the time in the rematch, something around there. So in other words, it's hard to beat a guy twice. Usually they've improved and they've found some sort of chink in your armor and they exploit it. Uh, but yeah, Ebo, big dude. Uh, Anton Takali, big dude. Both guys. Another one of these situations where they had kind of iffy records. If you go back and look at like their tapologies and shit like that, they've fought some guys earlier in their career that were like, 0 and fucking 18 and shit when they fought him. Pretty ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, likely the last time we see the Pleasure Man. So,
Oh well. No,
yeah.
no great loss there, I'm afraid.
To steal a line I saw on the MMA fighting wrap up show last night. Pleasure Man, it's been a pleasure. See you later,
Yeah,
pal.
yeah. PFL might want him.
Yeah, he's there's somebody out there for him. I mean,
Pleasure Man Fighting League. There we go.
yeah, maybe some amateur porn. Who knows? All right, moving on. Featherweight fight. Dennis Bazookia, Ray Longo, Matt Serra product took
Mhm.
on Connor Matthews, and Dennis Bazookia finally got his fucking win in the UFC. I'm pretty sure the dude's had like fucking 3 losses in a row. Was on the Contender Series twice. He had a fucking rough go. If you watch Anik and Florian at all, and you listen to Ray Longo, they love this dude. I mean, almost like a Sean Strickland situation without the controversy. Like he's very loved in the gym. Like if all the guys in the gym speak highly of him, and he very high character guy, high work ethic, just a stand up dude. So to see him come in and get a win last night, fucking awesome. As far as the fight itself, Bazooka just pretty much dominated. I mean, Matthews was, had a few significant blows, but for the most part, it was just Bazooka laying into him, and of course TKO at 22 seconds of round three.
Yeah. Yeah, Longo had a good night, didn't he? I know we'll be getting on to some more of his fights later. Well, not his,
Mhm.
but his team's fights.
Yeah, he sure did, which is good to see because he's had a rough go the last couple of times he's been out.
Yep.
And Longo, he ain't no spring chicken. He's getting up there in age, so
Yep.
enjoy him while you got him.
Yep.
Shout out to the Minutemen. Okay, rifling through this even more. This one here had ourselves a little catchweight bout because Julio Arce, the habitual weight misser, missed weight once again.
Right.
By apparently what is it, a pound and a quarter, or 1.25 pounds rather. But yeah, Julio Arce versus Herbert Burns, TKO by punches.
2 minutes of round two.
Yep. Go ahead and any thoughts on this one?
My memory is so bad. Like I said, if I don't take notes, I'm terrible on these things. So I think I was mostly disappointed all night because large amounts of my fights were going the wrong way. Oh, they certainly did later on, anyway. We've skipped over the one that you mentioned earlier when we were chatting before the show, Dudikova versus Gatto, which is cancelled for unknown
Oh
medical
yeah,
reasons. I just
yeah,
checked up and there's nothing come out about it as yet. So
yeah. I did. I don't. I'm looking at the Wikipedia and I didn't even see it listed, because it got pulled. So yeah. Poor Dudikova. I mean, I don't know. Is this a hygiene issue? Is this a uh, this history of staph infection that she has
yeah,
created for herself?
clean your gyms for God's sake.
Yeah, no, come on. I mean, I I'm
And,
hoping it. I'm hoping it
and
wasn't.
sorry, go on.
I was just. I'm hoping it wasn't staph. I did see some people speculating in the comment section on Instagram on some of the posts surrounding it. And granted, this was in Russian, and I was doing it through the little translation feature. But some of
Yeah,
them were speculating it was some sort of a food poisoning issue,
yeah,
which I mean, I guess it's possible.
it is.
Yeah, maybe you're in Atlantic City, you have some bad seafood, or
Got nothing to say on the food in AC.
yeah, sad nonetheless because I think she's undefeated. I want to say,
I think she is. Yeah, I think she's 8-0.
yeah. I mean,
Just have a look.
would seem to be an injection of life into the division that they could really use. So, ugh, I hope she gets her shit together.
Yep. Yeah, she's 8-0, 2-0 in the UFC.
Mm. Yeah, 2-0 with, and in one of them she fought with full on staph infection in her groin area.
Yep.
Ugh.
That's- How so? I'd never even heard of Staph before I started watching MMA.
I mean, I had heard of it like in passing, yeah, in like athletic settings and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
from everything I'd always heard, as long as you shower afterwards and fucking like you said, clean your gym, you should be
Yeah.
okay. But
Yeah. Well, I've never trained in a pro gym, but the places where I used to train were like little village halls and things with those
right,
jigsaw type mats that you put together.
uh-huh.
So that was all I trained on. So they were never obviously washed down or anything, but they used to just get stuck in the back of the storeroom or whatever until the next week. But we never had any shit like that. I mean,
I mean, I guess having open wounds and stuff likely doesn't help, but
no, probably not. I dare say you get a lot of scrapes and scratches when you're doing this kind of shit.
mhm. Yeah, fingernails digging into you or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
We need Dr. Daz in here for this part.
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, Herbert Burns took the L. Um, basically, I think what a lot of people expected. I'm pretty sure nobody had him selected in Discord.
I don't think so. No.
And good point to editor Dave. I remember him saying last night that his biggest memory of Herbert Burns was his brother Gilbert carrying him out of the octagon after the one fight. So it's the
Yeah, just
last thing he
checking. Yeah,
made.
no one picked Burns on the Discord.
So yeah, I guess that's about all we got to say about that.
Yeah. And hardly anyone picked the next one either.
Mm-hmm.
Our favourite Vienna Jandiroba.
Yes, the women's strawweight bout between
Yeah.
Verna Jandiroba and Lupi Godinez.
Yeah. My number one strawweight that let me down.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go ahead and rip into this one because I know Dave's waiting to hear you talk about this.
Yeah, this was one of the fights that I was kind of looking forward to. I thought Loopy was a bit underrated last year with, she had 4 wins, which no woman has ever done before. And I was hoping she was going to come on and carry on that way. But Jandiroba just kind of manhandled her for the most part of it. I don't think she did anything fantastic, but she did enough to win every round virtually. I know I'm just looking at the judges. One of them gave a round to Loopy, which I think was probably the first. Um, I'm not 100% sure because I picked this moment. This is going to sound crazy, but because it was our English clocks moved forward last night. So when it got to 1 a.m., it suddenly switched to 2 a.m., which was around the time I decided I was going to cook my dinner because I hadn't eaten all day. So I was serving myself dinner when the fight started, and then I came back in and ended up watching my poor Loopy getting beaten by Vienna, the woman with the strangest eyes in the UFC. Sorry, Vienna. No offense, man.
Yeah, she often
I'm
gets
pretty sure
compared.
surgery could probably fix that these days.
People often compare her to the actor Rob Schneider, and it's a pretty accurate comparison. Uh, this one, this was another one of the ones that I kind of waffled on throughout the week in the picks on Discord, just because you know Virna or Vina, whichever you want to call her, she's one of them fighters that uh, she has a way of stifling the game plan of
Yeah,
whoever she's facing off against. And when you look back at her record, I mean, she's got a pretty solid record. She's taken on some tough girls, and I just sort of I wasn't sure if Loopy was going to be able to get in there and get those clinch situations and use her strength and takedowns and wrestling ability like she has been. Of course, uh, it didn't really play out in her favor, and Jandaroba more or less had her way throughout the fight.
yeah. Got to give a shout out to our missing host, No Special Austin, because he was the only person on the Discord who did pick Werner.
Yeah, the consensus consensus pick was really with Loopy all around. Yes, I think it's has a lot to do with her activity, and then also just her general personality. I think people like her as a competitor
Yeah,
and a person.
yeah. She seems a pretty good person.
Yeah, yeah. I like her gym. I like the people she surrounds herself with. So this ain't really too much of a setback. Just a little speed bump. She'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know how old Loopy is, but I'm pretty sure she's got plenty of time left.
Yeah, so there's tread left on those tires, especially in these women's divisions, like we were talking about prior, where they're able to. I don't know if it's stay in their prime longer or if it's just like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's what it is because it's the fall off seems to be slower in the women's divisions.
Yeah, maybe the
The
wear and tear is a bit less than the men get.
right, yeah, the cliff is a bit less steep.
So
All right, moving on here, like to I guess what you would call the featured bout from the preliminary card. People were going wild for this one. They love this guy, Nate the Train in the UFC, baby. Uh, Nate Landwehr took on Jamal Emmers, gets the KO victory, 4:43 into the first round. I mean, this was your typical Nate Landwehr fight, put your fucking self on the line, put your fucking nuts on the table, and just go out there and go for the fucking victory. Uh,
Yeah.
he was getting lit up. Emmers was getting lit up himself. It was just one of them things where it was like, whose chin's going to give out first.
Yeah. And it was
And,
Emma's.
very clearly. We got our nice little Nate the Train post fight interview. A little bit less coherent than he usually is.
Yeah. That's probably quite concussed, even when he was talking at that point. I thought that was quite funny that was his first actual KO victory.
Yeah.
He's had TKOs before, but he's never had an outright KO.
It's shocking.
It was another unfavored fighter on the Discord. Only 4 people picked Nate the Train. So well done to those guys.
Yeah. I mean, I think I forget which podcast it was I was watching. One of the MMA handicapping podcasts. They was giving out their picks, and they were all in on Emmers. I think a lot of people had money riding on Emmers, and they were probably very disappointed last night.
Yep.
But who was it? Landwehr was discussing his next opponent. Bryce Mitchell.
Oh yeah,
My favorite.
Your favorite fighter.
Yeah, my absolute favorite. Yeah, Landwehr afterwards at the post-fight press conference was. I don't know if it got suggested for him or if he brought it up, but he was saying that Bryce Mitchell sounds like a great next fight. And fuck it, I agree.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Bryce hasn't been doing anything great of lately, so
Yeah.
why not have a crack?
Nate Landwehr a little bit, further down on the scale of competition for Bryce, but he could probably use that.
Yeah.
Possible bounce back fight for old Mr. Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
And an opportunity for Nate the Train to, begin to climb the ladder again.
Yep, get a genuine scalp.
Yeah. Plus, they both.
You think Bryce, he's a pretty dangerous guy. I know he's lost a few recently, but.
And no matter who wins, you're going to get a ridiculous speech afterwards. So.
Yep. Our holiest fighters tier list.
Yeah,
I might have to do that as a video.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hope that gets to see the light.
I have to chat with Dave.
Pun intended. See the light when it comes to religious fighters.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Now we get to the opening bout, or the curtain jerker for the main card here. Chidi and Jukawani defeated Reese McKee via split decision. I'll let you go ahead on this one, DM. Yeah.
Yeah, this obviously I came down and watched these fights. This late morning, early afternoon. I picked Reese McKee. I was hoping he might come back and have a resurgent performance because I know he's a decent fighter. He just hasn't really managed to produce anything in the UFC, and unfortunately, he spent most of last night trying to get takedowns against Chidi, and just didn't get any. Chidi was handling him pretty well. Messed him up big time in the first round with leg kicks. But I think did McKee get some kind of takedown or end up on the? I think he snatched I thought he might have snatched the first round, and I think one of the judges might have given it to him as well, because he has got a round scored for him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, can't really say anything much. Reese McKee did not perform. He didn't not perform as much as he did when he fought Hamzat for the first time. Where he didn't land a single punch, as you'll know if you've seen our video. So yeah, I mean, Chidi, I kind of wanted to pick Chidi, but I was going for the patriotic pick with Reese McKee, and it backfired on me. So yeah, decent result, just not a very exciting fight. That's all I can really say.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly the one that you're phoning your friends to tune into, but
there wasn't much bang bang from Chidi. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, the bang bang left the building. Surprising too, because dudes can fucking crack. I mean, he's got some KOs on his highlight reel that are worth going back and looking into. But yeah, point worth mentioning on this one would be that this was Njokuani's first time back down at welterweight in a really long time. I
Yeah.
can't say exactly when, but um, I saw some stuff leading up to this. There's actually videos out there of him after the last time he cut to welterweight saying, "I'll never do this again. Like, you won't never catch me in my career cutting down to this weight. Like, I can't handle this shit." And then here he is at his advanced age, cutting back down to 170.
I said both guys are like 6'2", 6'3", aren't
Yeah,
they?
big
That's a
fellas.
lot of height to pack. To pack a lot of muscle on.
Yeah,
So I can
yeah.
see why 170 might be a struggle for some guys.
hmm Especially when you're getting up there, with father time.
Yeah.
But
Same.
yeah, maybe weight cutting techniques and nutrition and stuff have come much farther than the last time he cut down to it. So maybe it was an easier cut because he didn't seem terribly, drawn out or gaunt, or
No.
uh, stamina seemed relatively okay throughout the fight. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
think that's what McKee's corner were kind of figuring on, that he'd get tired towards the end of the fight, and he just didn't.
yeah,
They were constantly sending out Reese McKee saying he's getting tired, and sorry, he wasn't getting that tired.
yeah. Obviously not with the result here, but yeah, I don't know what Chitty does going forward. Does he stay at welterweight? Does he move back up? It seems kind of foolish if you did all this to get back down to 170 to move back up. So,
Yeah. They obviously made the cut all right, so
hmm
it's not like he's going to have to cut that extra pound for championship weight anytime soon, is it? So
right, yeah. So yeah, good win for Chitty Bang Bang, but not a whole lot to really say about that.
no.
Next up, featherweight fight: Kyle Nelson, the balded bearded man, who now looks like GC from the MMA Hour show. If anybody tunes into that, or I guess GC looks like him now. Some
I've
people
no
say
idea that. So.
some people say cute to Deladze, which they all three kind of look like triplets. Yeah, but yeah, Kyle Nelson defeating Bill Algeo, TKO via punches, 4 minutes round one. This one was a sort of iffy stoppage. At least some people felt like it was. TKO on the feet. Algeo was kind of bobbling around, a little bit of chicken legs. Uh, was this uh, Gary Copeland? Was that who's refereeing this one?
I think it was, yeah.
Yeah,
I did make a note on this one that it possibly was an early stoppage, but Algier was definitely in big trouble. So he probably would have gone down in the next few blows.
yeah, I agree.
I'm not going to hate on the ref for the stoppage. He probably just saved him some damage, in truth.
Although Copeland he had his share of iffy moments throughout the night.
Yeah, a few refs had a bit of trouble, didn't they? I think.
I think the refs
And
featured.
again, no one in the Discord picking Kyle Nelson. One person, should I say? But that was it.
See, I was on him at moments earlier in the week because I'm not a big Bill Algeo guy, but again, it was one of those things where like I listened to some fucking handicapper giving some breakdown of the fight and swung me over onto the Algeo side.
Yeah,
But
as usual. I'm going to blame MMA Guru for any pick I get wrong.
yeah, fuck you, Kyle. Not Kyle
Definitely.
Nelson, the other Kyle. Anyway, so yeah, kind of iffy moment with the stoppage, but Algeo, if I'm not mistaken, he's getting up there in age. Yeah, 34 years old.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, this isn't exactly a to reference back to one of your phrases earlier, like a big scalp on your resume, taking out Bill Algeo, but a win nonetheless. If you're Kyle Nelson,
It's
uh,
better than a loss.
yeah, yeah. I mean, on the main card of a fight night that didn't take place in the Apex, so fucking take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, it might as well have taken place in the Apex, quite frankly.
Yeah, yeah. I said that at one point in the chat last night. I said this should have taken place at the Apex.
Well, that's one. The news that Derek Lewis is fighting Nascimento And I
Oh
thought
yeah.
that I was going to joke and make, two fat guys at the Apex again. And then someone pointed out that that's one of the road shows that's happening in, is it New Orleans or down that way?
St. Louis, St. Louis.
St. Louis. There we
Yeah.
go.
So basically, yeah, Missouri. That's down southern.
So, yeah,
But yeah.
another quality product from the UFC.
What are you gonna do with these fucking matchmakers?
You go from that great card at 299, and to quite frankly, I think last week's card was better than this week's card. I
Yep.
certainly enjoyed it more.
I gotta steal a line from Jimmy Smith here and say that they're basically making casserole with leftovers lately. Like they used up all the good ingredients and now they're just feeding us fucking shit.
Yep.
All right. Moving on. Middleweight fight. Nursultan Ruzaboyev defeated Cedriquez Dumas. Weird ass fight. Of course, the TKO 318 round one. What's your thoughts on this one, DM?
I'm trying to remember. I know I definitely watched it, but I'm trying to remember the actual punches that got it finished. And I'm really struggling, quite frankly. No, take it away. I really am struggling on this one.
This was the one that
today, so.
this was the first of two fights that were.
Oh, there we go. I did make a note. Yeah, eye poke leads to a TKO for Ruziboyev.
Yep. Yeah, this was.
Did he grab his eye? Did he grab his eye and drop to the floor, or am I thinking of the Weidman fight there?
That was the Weidman fight.
That was the Weidman one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he did do a sort of like he almost like tried to call timeout, sort of a thing, like turning to the side, cocking the body, like holding the hand over the eye, and like looking at the ref rather than looking at his opponent.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't call timeout mid-fight, buddy. That's not how this works.
No. Not even if you got a splinter in yourself.
Speaking of that, if you guys want to go back and check out One Last Thing with Lazybed, Super Dave did a great job on that edit. But yeah, this was one of those fights that was basically like a setup fight. Like they were more or less feeding Dumas to Ruzaboyev. Dumas, who hasn't looked good at all since his Contender Series fight, very green, lacking in a lot of fucking categories. Ruzaboyev, isn't the most polished guy himself, but he's fucking huge.
Yeah.
Some sites had him listed at 6'5", others have him listed at 6'6". That is a gigantic middleweight.
Yeah.
But yeah, relatively sloppy fight. The eye poke, I don't remember getting a super clear look at it. I'm pretty sure it was an eye poke. They did verify it was. But ultimately, it was the trying to call a timeout and the shots that followed after that caused the fight to end. So, you can't chalk it all up to the poke, unlike the fight we'll discuss next.
Yeah.
So
another good one for Longo coming up.
Yeah, I guess.
It's own bizarre way.
So, win for Ruzaboyev. He doesn't have a Wikipedia page, but I'm pretty sure he's up there in age himself. So, I don't know. Middleweight.
That's always a warning sign, isn't it? When someone doesn't have a wiki page.
Yeah.
It's like, are they very young or they're just very bad?
Matter of fact, neither of them have a Wikipedia page.
Oh, right. Wow.
Which it was kind of a theme on this card. Lots of non-Wikipedia pages.
It shows the quality, doesn't it?
All right. So let's get into this one because this is probably the, I don't know, maybe the juiciest storyline of the whole night. Chris Weidman, desperately in need of a win, taking on Bruno Silva, who was also kind of desperately in need of a win. Potentially both these guys' careers on the line, at least in the UFC. There's so many different things you could say about this fight. So many ways you could take it. depending on whose side you're on, or if you're just going by the rule book, which I'm pretty sure that's going to be editor Dave's point here because he was high on the rules last night.
Was there?
Yeah, yeah, of course, because he was riding with Weidman. So
Yeah,
uh,
yeah. He was
if
one
you
of the
go by
few
if
who picked him.
yeah if you go by the rule book, I mean, technically Weidman did win the fight, but anyway,
Mm.
um, as far as the fight itself, it was a good fight in the beginning. Um, or at least a fight that had some fun moments. Weidman had me freaking the fuck out every time he was throwing a leg kick, and he threw a lot of them.
Yeah, he didn't mess about. I know Bisbee was talking about to him about it afterwards because he said in the first fight he was trying to throw the leg kick and his mind just wouldn't let him do it. But this time he
Mhm.
came out and he was blasting the kicks, and so obviously he's got over that mental hurdle as far as throwing it goes.
Yeah. Although I did note that one of the very first things, it might have been the very first thing that Weidman did as soon as the fight started, was he did the little Muay Thai raise the leg like to check the kick. And I think it was just that sort of like programmed into his mind, like lift my leg. But yeah, so the ending, you know, of course there was multiple eye pokes throughout the fight,
Yeah,
possibly
yeah.
on both sides.
Hmm.
Uh, but I don't even really know how to put this into words. Like I'm happy for
I've got the results page open here, and it's Weidman defeats Silva by TKO, eye pokes and punches, uh, which is pretty accurate. But all credit to Weidman, he did do well. You know, he backed Silva up, kept him up against the cage, was
Mhm.
enforcing his game on him. Then when they got out into the open, where he wasn't quite as good, perhaps he just stuck his fingers in Silva's eyes. Uh,
uh,
like was it 2 or 3 eye pokes in that, and no one lost a point?
a minimum two or three. I think there might have been more because I mean he poked him, he double poked him on that last one. He poked
Yeah,
both up.
yeah,
So, but
yeah.
no matter how you feel about it, no matter how you feel about how Weidman reacted afterwards, and basically telling you know Silva to be a man, and you can't fall down from an eye poke. You got to fight through these things. Uh, Even if that rubbed you the wrong way, the rules are what the rules are, and I believe it's after a certain point in the fight. Um,
Yeah, because it
it,
got to the third round. It's
yeah,
not
yep,
going to be a no contest, is it, generally?
exactly. Yeah, they'll go to the cards, or they'll
And
whatever it is up to that
it
point.
certainly won the first 2 rounds, so
Yeah. So I could see really objecting and being upset if they would have kept it as a TKO, but being as they switched it to the unanimous decision, and the
mhm.
rules are what the rules are, it's a win. Now, like I said, you might feel some kind of way about the way that Weidman was acting afterwards. He wasn't exactly apologetic or gracious or anything like that, but fuck it,
I
man.
think
Like,
it looked like he was okay when he was talking to Silva when they were, before they started interviewing him. They seemed to be getting on okay. He seemed to be apologising and saying the right things to him.
yeah, but you gotta,
Once he had the mic in front of his face, it was just man up, you know.
yeah. And you can't blame the dude. I mean, you know how badly he wanted that win. Like he was,
Yeah,
yeah,
39 years old, coming back from one of the most horrific injuries we tend to see in the UFC or
yeah.
MMA in general. So
Putting
yeah.
on some real stinker performances in the last few, just
Hmm.
so.
Yeah. Happy for Weidman, 39 years old, I think he is, isn't he?
And my only other statement on this would have been, I wish he would have retired. It,
Yeah, it would have been
you're
a
in
good
it,
time for him. Yeah,
yeah. You're in Atlantic City. You're close to home. You
yeah,
got your friends and family there. You're going off of a win. I don't know. But it
yeah.
is what
I
it
was looking to see if he might start taking his gloves off while he was talking to Bisbing, but obviously he's high on the victory.
is. Yeah, yeah. The adrenaline was definitely flowing, to say the least.
So yeah, an old guy gets it done and makes Dave very happy. So we're all good. And again, Austin picked Weidman.
Oh, let's look at no special.
Yeah, he's doing well.
our little sharp over here.
Hmm? These wild picks are coming off. I'm just seeing if he picked Buckley now. No, he hasn't got Buckley.
I, however, did pick Buckley.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. I do believe I did. I'm almost
Oh, you
positive.
did, yes. Yeah, you did.
Yeah, well, that segues us right into this one. Co-main event, Joaquin Buckley versus Vicente Luque, welterweight division. Uh, Ending TKO, another TKO, night of TKOs.
Mm.
317 around two. What do you got on this one?
Yeah, I think from what I remember, the first round was going a little bit back and forth, and then was it round two? Lucas went for some crazy. Did he pull guard? I was only half watching because I'd already lost interest in the card by the time we got to this point.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
he more or less pulled guard. Like it was
yeah,
like he was going to get taken down, but he just sort of accepted it and pulled him on top.
yeah, and then just seemed to cover his head up, and Buckley unleashed on him as he should do, and then the ref quite rightly stopped it. He wasn't fighting back. There's nothing you can really say about it. There's nothing controversial about it. Just a bad performance by Luque and a decent performance by Buckley, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
Oh,
more or less. This Luque, he is one of those dudes that you could be so high on at times, and then it comes out and lays a stinker. It's
I think I was quite into him when he first, a couple of years back when he first started popping up on the scene. I think I
yeah,
quite liked him, but
you know, and
obviously
of
he had
course,
the time off with the brain injury, whatever it was. I forget what it was now, blood
yeah,
clots
that's
or whatever the hell it was.
brain bleed,
Yeah.
which is very serious. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
yeah, I mean, a lot of people attribute, his decline to that, or
Hmm.
at least his hesitancy in maybe pulling the trigger. Uh, but very very peculiar the way he just sort of accepted that takedown, and it was like a half pull guard, half like takedown scenario. Um, and then a lot of people pointing out that the weirdest part was really just his acceptance of Buckley being on top. Like he wasn't putting the foot on the hip, trying to push off, nothing like that. He was just sort of like, okay, like I'm just gonna fucking shell up and take this beating.
Yeah, he
Uh,
was paid for it.
yeah.
So nothing controversial, just an
No.
okay fight. Nothing spectacular, just okay.
Yeah. Luke, unfortunately, on the downside of his career, it seems. But
Yeah.
Buckley, looking very good at 170. Could be a real problem in this division. He was too small and ballooned up for middleweight. He was just a
Yeah.
but yeah,
A
at
fat, a
welter.
fat, a fat welterweight. Yeah.
Yeah,
Not that he was
yeah,
ever fat, to be fair, but yeah,
yeah, more
under
or less. Yeah, I get
undersized
what you're saying.
for
Yeah.
being a middleweight. I
But
said
once,
as we were talking before. It was nice to see Buckley not resorting straight towards grappling and wrestling all the time, which he had a bit more of a tendency to do. Although I might be getting mixed up with another fighter. That is always possible. Um,
I think
but
in a sense, yeah, he has been sort of grappling heavy since he's had that big KO
yeah,
against Kasong and I.
spectacular knockout.
Hmm. But yeah, at 170, now he will be ranked after taking on Luke here. So yeah, possible ascension up the ranks and a path to a future title shot, maybe for Buckley if he can keep stringing together these victories. Yeah, granted, that's a long way away, but if he can keep compiling W's and looking like this at 170.
I'm thinking. I think I have mixed Buckley up with someone else because the guy I'm thinking about is from Doncaster, if I remember rightly, which is just up the road from me. It's not very far from where I live at all. But I can't think of the guy's name right now. He was
Oh,
another flashy kicker. Oh, Mark Decaz, Dicese. That's what I'm
okay,
thinking
yeah,
of.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm getting mixed up with Dicese. So sorry, Joaquin.
Oh, and the other point that I would make here is Joaquin Buckley, maybe one of the few fighters ever who had a pre-fight party before the fight.
Yeah,
Yeah, at the hotel,
at
and
the
he's
hotel, yeah.
so that didn't backfire and blow up in his face.
No. I did put on the Discord that I hoped it was gonna be a cold plunge for him, but it definitely wasn't. It worked out very nicely.
Well, that about wraps it up
I
on that.
wouldn't recommend, people following that guidance. You know, pre-fight parties probably not the best base for winning,
No, no.
but hey, he got away with it. Well done.
No matter how tempting the pool party is, stay away.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, and this, of course, leaves us with the main event of the night. Uh, New Jersey's own Aaron Blanchfield.
Former Hammer of the Month,
Yeah,
MP.
yeah, and one of Jed Meshu's favorites, at least prior. Took it on Manon Fior or Fior. I don't know, however the fuck you want to say it. I'm
No,
gonna
I'm
say
not sure.
Fior.
I'd say Fiorot, but someone might. It's a bit like Poirot, the famous Agatha Christie detective.
Oh, okay.
That's the way I'd go for it, but I'm probably wrong. I'm not French, so who knows?
That's one of the only nationalities I don't think we have in the Discord is a French person.
Oh no, I don't think I've seen anyone
Mm-mm.
being French.
French Canadian, maybe.
Yeah, I dare say we've got some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Neither here nor there, to quote Austin.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, this was one of the ones with high stakes here. One of the few times. What was this? Number 2 versus number 3.
Yeah, well, they both went into the fight. They had both had 6 victories, 6 wins. And it was the first time it had ever happened, I think, in a woman's strawweight that 2
Yeah.
fighters with those kind of records had gone up against each other.
Mm-hmm.
Both,
Records and rankings. You don't see this very often.
no, it was a competitive fight for sure. Well, on paper it was competitive.
Right. Yeah.
The reality in the cage was, of course, very different.
That's a perfect segue if you want to give your thoughts here on this main event.
Yeah, well, I was on the Blanchfield train. I've watched her fights a few times. I know the last fight she had, I'm forgetting who it was she fought, but she did a lot of pushing her back up against the cage. I know Dave was so excited by her grinding up against the cage tactics, and he thought Blanchfield had lost the last fight, but and I mean, this one, she was game. She kept coming forward throughout the entire 5 rounds. She never looked gassed. She just didn't have anything to offer against Manon. Um, Manon was pretty much just backing off throughout most of the fight, just picking her off with counters every time she rushed in. I know Manon had the takedown in the first round, which was a bit of a surprise. And I actually did wonder if Blanchfield might have stolen that round, but not according to the judges. They were unanimous. They didn't give her a single round, and I can't hate on that. All well done to Manon. I guess I have to change it now to my favourite French fighter because BSD lost, of course. Cyril Gann, you know my opinion on Cyril Gann, and he's just reinforced it this week as well. There you go, Dave. I said I'd mention Gann. Dodging fights. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess Manon now has to either sit and wait because Grasso and Shevchenko are doing the next tough series, aren't they?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's either going to have to wait until that's finished and they fought, or she's going to take another fight. So I guess it depends what she wants to do. Blanchfield
Mhm.
obviously has to go back in the pool and start recovering and getting another win and fighting her way back. I guess she hasn't lost any rankings in the division because she
Yeah.
fought a woman who was higher ranked than her. So yeah,
Yeah.
just I guess it's one of those a wrestler versus a grappler again, and the wrestler gets exposed for not having good enough striking, which, as I said earlier on, the heavy hands boys had noticed that Blanchfield's striking wasn't great. I think everyone knew her striking wasn't great, to be fair. But everyone expected her to force her way through the fight. She was,
Yep.
she had 10 years younger than Manon. Uh,
Yeah.
but I guess Manon's experience was enough to win her the fight very convincingly.
Hmm. Yeah. Pretty easily, really.
Yeah. 50-45 on all 3 judges' cards.
Yeah. You know, I said prior that it's basically to touch on some of the points that you were making that it was one of them situations where this was going to turn out one of two ways. Either Manon was going to be too big, too strong, her footwork was going to be too clean, the striking was going to be not, earth rattling, but just enough to get the job done, or Blanchfield was going to have, and this has been my line all weekend, the vim and vigor of youth, and she was going to go out there and she was going to do what she's done and overcome that lack of striking prowess and pressure forward and get into those grappling situations and find a way to persevere and eventually, come up with a submission somehow. But it turned out that it was the first way. It was Manon just being too large, too
Too
uh,
strong.
yeah, just too fucking strong, big sistering Aaron all over the fucking cage,
So the
jerking
couple of
off.
times when Erin got in close and tried to grapple, Manon was just shrugging her off.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly. It's just
I mean, I don't have a younger brother, but I would imagine it's how it is when you do have a younger brother. You know, he's hassling, you just take him off and throw him across the room
yeah,
wherever
yeah.
he's annoying you.
Get your
And that's
fucking hands off me,
exactly what
dude.
it looked like. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah, what do you
big
even?
sister in Erin.
Yeah, it was literally just like, what do you even think you're trying to attempt here? Like, and Aaron just blindly just marching forward, head up in the air, eating shots, no ability to strike her way into the distance and close that space between the two and engage in those grappling scenarios. And even when she was able to get her arms around Manon or get some sort of a clinch, it was momentary at best. Outside of that first round, where Blanchfield did have a brief moment where it looked like she might have had a guillotine.
Yeah. So don't be silly, jump the gilly.
Yeah, but just all in all, it looked like they were two completely different weight classes, um, on two completely different levels of the game. Uh,
Yeah. So the
Blanchfield,
problem was Erin had a plan A, but she didn't have a plan B, and she certainly
yep,
didn't have a plan C. Um,
yeah, and like I don't know how you can be a primarily grappling based fighter who relies on submission
mhm.
wins and lack that much in the wrestling department. Like I don't remember her shooting a singular traditional double or single leg takedown.
Nope,
Uh,
she didn't.
it was all body locks and attempted trips and just I don't know. She needs to go somewhere and spend a solid year just training nothing but wrestling and stand up
Yeah.
and and entries and ways to get into the wrestling scenarios and
Yeah, I
you
think
know
someone was saying on I can't remember if the last fight or probably the fight before that, where she might have won by, I can't remember if she won by submission. They were saying that she didn't initiate the takedowns. It was the other fighter who took her down, and then she just was able to take advantage of it, much
yeah,
like she did with Manon in the first round. Uh, I don't know whether Fiorot decided she just didn't want to mess with Blanchfield anymore after the almost guillotine attempt, but like I say, she didn't really have to. She kept it
yeah.
standing.
Tony the Lion from Discord does deserve a shout out because he basically called this fight to a T before it
Yeah.
even happened.
It
So
was one of the few who picked it, and Street as well.
yeah, and I think a lot of people said that they were basing this off of the Talia Santos fight because Santos having a similar body type and style of Manon being big and strong and having that wide, tall frame. Uh, I don't know. Like you said prior, it doesn't really hurt her too much in the rankings because she lost to somebody ranked higher than her, and she is only 24. Uh, but definitely some holes and major deficits in her game.
Yeah, big repair work needed. Maybe a year with Trevor Whitman had helped. Uh,
Yeah, anybody something like her corner sucked. Like they were not giving her good advice whatsoever.
no, no.
But this is my opportunity to shout out one of the people that was in her corner, Fatima Klein, who
Yeah,
is the double champ in CFFC If you haven't checked her out, I would recommend anybody listening go check out her shit on Fight Pass or wherever you might find it, because chick's a beast. Now, granted, this is against lesser competition in the B leagues, but
Yeah.
wouldn't be the least bit surprised to see her in the UFC soon.
I'll have to keep an eye out for her.
Yeah, and for Fior,
Erin's
also like
partner by rumor, isn't it, as well?
yeah, I didn't want to speculate, although I already had, but
Yeah, I did clarify by rumor, so.
and then as far as Fior goes, like you were saying, I guess you kind of just wait in a holding pattern while things pan out between Grasso and Shevchenko in this season of Tough, which seems like that could be a pretty fair amount of time until you would.
Her versus Grasso could be quite a fun fight.
Yeah,
Two strikers, a box against I guess a kickboxer man on the more renowned as.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing her against Valentina or Alexa, but yeah, either way, she's gonna be waiting a while for that. So it becomes a matter of, do you take another fight in the meantime? Risky business there, as we know.
Yeah, we've seen too many people come unstuck like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess to close up on this card.
Oh, before we close, if I've got to give a quick shout out to we were both watching the prelims for Cage Warriors on earlier on Saturday. It was Saturday, wasn't it? I'm not getting days mixed up.
Yeah,
Um, and there was a guy called Paul Thomas, an English fighter called Paul Thomas, who fought, and he was the first ever deaf fighter to fight at Cage Warriors. Thomas the
yeah,
Juggernaut Paul. I thought it was quite funny because his entry music was just like a deep bass sound, which obviously he could feel through the floor. There was no tune to it or anything, but it was obviously it made he could feel something. And then it was
yeah,
just interesting watching the fight as he's grappling, because a lot of it was done on the floor. He had some very nice takedowns, and he had a beautiful suplex at one point. It looked really, really good. And then, but it was just funny watching him doing his watching the corner doing sign language to him, so he could, getting his instructions from there. And I
mhm.
also noticed that I don't know, I didn't pay much attention to the rest of the card, but it was the crowd were incredibly quiet, which I don't really know why, because he's deaf. You're not going to upset him if you shout. But yeah,
Yeah.
great to see it. All credit to him. My favorite Thomas of the weekend. Sorry, Luke.
Burn. Uh, yeah. My little bonus shout out that I wanted to give for the weekend. On Uriah Faber's A1 Combat, which I believe was on Friday night. I want to say, I want to say it was Friday night. They debuted the first ever strawweight men's championship in North America, a 115-pound division for men.
Wow.
Yeah, which it sounds a little bit iffy or weird at first, but then when you start thinking about over in Japan and places like Ryzen and other organizations like that, it's not so uncommon, and there is a lot of guys down in that weight class.
Yeah.
So
Well, look at all the the kickboxers and Thai boxers
exactly, yeah, you got a lot of smaller
in
guys
one.
that get
Yeah.
excluded.
And
So yeah,
they're going to be fast and active at that kind of way.
yeah, and surprisingly powerful. They
Mm.
got some good striking in those divisions, those lower divisions. So yeah, good on A1 Combat there for putting out that first men's strawweight championship in the North American
Yeah. I can't see
hemisphere.
the UFC getting one anytime soon, but
Mm-mm, mm-mm. I would much prefer them get a women's 105 atomweight division, but that's a whole nother story.
yeah.
Uh, yeah, I'm trying to think of any other events of the weekend, but I'm kind of drawing a blank here. So
So, apart from Gan again refusing to fight anyone that's worth anything, and just apparently seeming that he can sit and hold his position, and they'll give him a shot at the belt. Get lost. Sorry. Uh, You're going to have to fight someone. You cannot keep dodging people. Because even Blade, I saw the interview with Blades, and Blades was like, "No, I offered to fight him twice, and he turned me down. He's not getting a shot now. He can go and fight somebody else." So it looks like he might get jailed in Almeida, because I think he's one of the few people who isn't signed up at the moment. So that'll be fun for Cyril Gann. He won't enjoy that fight, I guarantee you.
Yeah, I was gonna say that'll be a nice little interesting affair for somebody who fucking hates wrestling.
Yeah.
Good luck. Unless he winds up in another situation where he decides to stay stuck on a takedown attempt and gets hammered, but I don't see that happening because I don't think Gon has that kind of takedown defense.
No, not judging by what we've seen.
No, absolutely not.
And the other vague news that I heard, it's not been confirmed exactly yet, but looks like here in good old Blighty in England, we're going to get a numbered event sometime this year. So we should see almost certainly Tom Aspinall and quite probably Leon Edwards both defending their belts at some point
Hell
in the near
yeah.
future. So,
That'll be a fucking card and a half right there.
yeah, Tom versus Blades, and I guess it'll be what's his name? Oh, Bilal Muhammad. Sorry, I should have remembered that, shouldn't I? Um, against Leon.
I love you, Bilal. Don't let him bother you.
Oh, did you see that? Just joking about it. Did you see the tweet where Darren Till had said he apologising for being a bit of an asshole recently and all that kind of stuff, and then Bilal commented under it and went, "Oh, thanks, man." And Darren Till came back, "I wasn't fucking talking to you."
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah,
They really
they've
do
had a couple
don't
of
seem
go.
to like each other.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've had a couple of goes back and forth, haven't they?
Yeah, well, last time Bilal commented, I think Darren Till said, "If you were fighting in my backyard, I'd keep the curtains closed."
Yeah, yeah, that's the one I remembered seeing. Yeah, which Darren Till, you should probably just keep your mouth shut and mind your manners.
He's going to boxing, isn't he? By the looks of it.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
Hmm. That
Probably,
might help him. Less grappling involved.
that's what I was gonna say. Probably for the best. Oh, I'd love to see Darren Till in BKFC. That'd be great. Him
He
versus
was
Mike
calling
Perry.
out. He was calling out. What's his face, wasn't he? Mike Perry, I think.
Was
Or
it Perry?
they were talking about each other at one point. But I think Till wants to box him, and Perry, of course, wants to fight him in BKFC,
Yeah,
where he was
yeah.
the cock of the roost.
Take
If
those big
ever there
gloves
was a
off.
sport made for one man, that was BKFC and Mike Perry go together like peanut butter and jelly, as you Americans like it.
I think that we've pretty much touched on just about everything.
Yeah, we covered all the fights.
Yeah, and I can't remember any other real big news from the weekend. Oh, actually, yes, I can. We can't end this episode here without touching on the Tim Tszyu versus Sebastian Fundora fight last night. I know this isn't a boxing show, but we got our resident Aussie JK, who's a big Tim Tszyu fan. Unfortunately, last night things did not go his way. Suffered a weird sort of accidental elbow very early on in the fight. Might have been after one of the very first rounds. Just a glancing kind of a blow from Fundora's elbow that Tszyu basically walked into, so it wasn't anything malicious at all. But boy, did that thing leave a cut that bled the entire fucking fight. Tszyu he had the proverbial crimson mask for the majority of the fight, just leaking everywhere. That thing was nasty. And I have to imagine that it impaired his vision and ability to execute the game plan that he had coming in. So, yeah. And then Fundora is just being a slender man scarecrow, 6'6". Just, I think he's got like an 80 or 81-inch reach. Ridiculous.
Good ape
Yeah.
index.
Yeah. So things did not go well for Tim Tszyu last night, but I think he'll bounce back from this. I'm not the biggest boxing aficionado, but I did watch the Vote Sport video that they put out on him, and so I got a little run through of his career, and seems like a
I know.
great guy.
I know Luke and BZ were all over this fight. They were doing interviews and stuff, weren't they?
Yeah. And then also, I guess before we get out of here, touch on the co-main event of that card, which is Rolly Romero versus oh god, what's his name? Guy's name's slipping me and escaping me right now, but Rolly lost, which is, I guess, is a pretty big deal because he's a fan favorite and he got absolutely walloped in there.
I saw you asking for a notification when the when the co-main started.
Yeah, that was the Rolly fight. I mainly wanted to watch that one because I know about him a pretty fair amount from watching MK stuff. That BC does a lot of coverage on Rolly Romero, but yeah, things didn't work out for him last night.
Unsurprisingly, I didn't see it.
Yeah, the MK curse carries on. Whenever they interview a fighter, they always seem to lose. Yeah, outside of
Those boys are
that,
back on Monday, of course, aren't they?
yeah. Tomorrow morning, or depending on when you ingest this podcast, you might have already heard the return of Morning Combat.
Yeah. Not sure if they're back on YouTube or if it's all on DraftKings or how they're doing it at the moment.
Yeah, I believe it's just DraftKings at the moment, but
Yeah.
with audio platforms and YouTube to follow. But don't quote me because that's always changing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right. I think that's going to just about do it. I think we've covered everything that needs to be covered, and even some stuff that doesn't.
Yeah, probably.
Well, all right, folks. That's just about going to do it for this edition of the Weekend Roundup, proudly brought to you by Just Bleed Radio. We'll be back at you again next week, where we have a couple of what are they, middleweights? Are they meaty middleweights? I believe so.
The middleweight, yeah. Chris
Yeah,
Curtis and Brendan Allen.
that's right. Yeah, a couple of meaty middleweights back in the Apex. Sorry, everybody's favorite.
It's a rematch, isn't it, as well?
It is. Yes, it is. With Curtis filling in as a late replacement. But yeah, so we'll be back at you guys next week with another weekend roundup to cover the Allen versus Curtis 2 fight. We hope you all enjoyed, and if you can, on your way out, like and subscribe and do that whole little bit there. And we thank you for tuning in. So for Dangermouse and Super Dave, Chachri, and the not present Austin No Special, who's enjoying his Easter weekend with the family, this has been the Weekend Roundup.
See you next week, guys.
Peace. Yo, fucking later. Oh, that ought to be something. I'm sure he can get some shit out of there.
Yeah, probably. If he doesn't find anything, it's not the end of the world, is it?
Right, exactly.
Shop a bit for None of this is my fault. So if this makes it to the edit, it's not the mouse's fault. I am not Pontius Pilate.